podcast series. So, today we are not just talking about monotonously either VAT or corporate tax. We are going to talk the interplay or interaction between VAT and corporate tax. Specifically, that's applicable to free zones. So, prominently, when we talk about setting up a business in the UAE, the main attraction could be setting it up in a free zone. Now, from a free zone perspective, the first thing that comes to mind when you think about tax angle is basically whether it's tax free or you could be presuming that it's eligible for certain tax benefits. With the introduction of VAT and now that corporate tax also has been fully implemented, there are a lot of confusion in line with the implications that is applicable for free zone entities both from a corporate tax as well as from a VAT angle. So today we have with us Mr. Pavan Madakala, who is tax manager at Rodel. He is not just having experience in VAT but also in corporate tax. That's why I'm really sure that he will be able to give us a complete picture of taxation that is applicable both from a VAT as well as from a UAE corporate tax perspective to the free zone entities in the UAE. Welcome, Mr. Pavan Madakala.
Thank you, Mahalaxmi. Thank you for your kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. So let's start with a very simple question. Now that VAT and corporate tax is applicable simultaneously to free zone entities, let me ask you a very simple question. Basically, in UAE, what's one biggest misconception that actually people take when it comes to taxation of free zones?
Even now, there are many businesses which have a misconception about the free zone taxation. They see free zone taxation as a single concept. While there are corporate tax and VAT, though they are two different tax regimes. Okay, VAT is a transaction-based tax and corporate tax is at a business level. The conditions to obtain these advantages or tax benefits are completely different from each other. So once businesses get clarity about these two tax regimes that they are different, then the analysis become much more simpler.
Well, now that you have clarified that VAT and corporate tax does not work hand in hand and VAT implications and corporate tax implications are different for free zone entities. So let's take one at a time. Let's start with VAT. So from a VAT perspective, let me start with few simple questions. So is it that all the free zone entities are subject to beneficial or preferential VAT treatment?
See, when we are talking about the VAT treatment, the first question I ask is not the which free zone the business is located. The first question I would rather ask is what are they supplying? Whether they are supplying the goods or services. So VAT treatment is determined whether they are supplying goods or service.
Alright, that's really interesting. At this stage, I would really want to know why would you ask that question rather than asking where a business is located?
Because for services, it doesn't matter where the entity is located. Suppose if an entity is providing services, it doesn't matter from a VAT perspective whether they are located in a free zone or whether they are located in a mainland. Suppose if business is, for example, if a business is engaged in services like software development, management consultancy or any other service, then it doesn't matter. From a VAT perspective, there is no distinguish between mainland entity and a free zone entity.
Alright. So in simple words, if I could understand from your explanation, is that for services, it doesn't matter where the entity is located. So then the question arises is what about goods? So could you throw some light on that?
Yeah, when it comes to goods, it will make a lot of difference if the entity is located in a designated free zone. So here I'm making it very clear, I'm referring to designated free zone and not the free zone. So all free zones are not designated zones. Okay, so if a business is supplying goods, then next question what I would ask is where are they located? Whether they are located in a free zone or designated zone. Suppose if they are located in a designated zone, then we will have to go through further analysis.
Alright, so can I take an assumption that the moment an entity is in designated free zone, and supplying goods automatically it is eligible for any VAT benefit?
No. This is one of the major misconception that every business has. Okay, if you are located in a designated zone and if you are providing supply of goods, that doesn't automatically give you the VAT benefit. So there are certain other things that as a business you need to consider, like when is the risk and ownership is being transferred, what is the purpose of the goods, whether the goods are being exported or is it being sent to mainland, what are the incoterms of these goods, and these are some of the conditions that as a consultant or as a business you should be taken care of in order to determine the VAT treatment. Based on this analysis, you can see whether the VAT treatment, it can be either out of scope or it can be 5% standard rated.
So you mentioned the term Incoterms, right? Can you give us some highlight on what is this Incoterm and whether that's the only determining criteria?
No, it is not just the Incoterms. See, what we see, it is not just the invoice that we refer to determine the VAT treatment. So in order to determine the VAT treatment, we mainly go through the contractual arrangements and the Incoterms apart from regular invoice and custom declaration. Why? Because through contractual arrangements, we will get to know where and when the risk and ownership is being transferred. Through the Incoterms, we will get to know when the delivery and where the delivery happened. Okay, these are the two important terms, or I can say elements, which we will have to determine apart from regular VAT invoice review and custom declaration review, which will help us in determining the VAT treatment, whether it is out of scope or standard rated.
That's actually interesting way of seeing, because I am really sure that people may be reviewing customs declaration, but as you highlighted, people may not be reviewing the Incoterms or they may not be looking at the contractual arrangement. Thank you for guiding us through that. Now that you have thrown light on the VAT, let's get into the corporate tax discussion. So corporate tax has been introduced in 2023, and yet I think free zone is one of the main area wherein there are a lot of confusions, right? As you highlighted us that VAT is transaction based and corporate tax is more a business based tax, right? So let me ask one question that I have in my mind. Can just a free zone license get you 0% corporate tax benefit?
No, it is even one of the common misconception that every business has. Just by having a license in a free zone, you will not get the benefit of corporate tax. Okay, so before even going to the 0% corporate tax rate, so I want to highlight that every free zone entity from the corporate tax perspective is considered as a taxable person, and every free zone entity is required to do the corporate tax registration. So, and they also need to file the annual returns that will be due. So for every free zone entities, corporate tax registration is mandatory, while 0% corporate tax rate benefit is conditional.
All right. I think not many people may be aware that free zones also are required to have the compliance requirements, like the registration and written filing requirements, and they may be presuming that they are coming under the 0% ambit. So now the next question for you is, what is the 0% rate and how is it applicable? How do a free zone entity qualify themselves for 0% tax rate?
Okay, see, every free zone business, if they want to get the benefit of 0% corporate tax rate on qualifying income, first they should be considered as a qualifying free zone person. Okay, there is a concept in corporate tax law and they have given the conditions to be a qualifying free zone person. Once you satisfy all these conditions, you will be considered as a qualifying free zone person and you can get the benefit of 0% corporate tax rate. Now, what are these conditions? These conditions like maintain adequate substance, maintain audited financial statements, derive qualifying income, meet the conditions of de minimis threshold, comply with TP regulations, and not to elect to be taxed under normal corporate tax regime. So if an entity satisfies all these conditions, I'm telling all these conditions not independently but as a whole, if they satisfy all these conditions, then they can get then they will be considered as a qualifying free zone person and they can get the benefit of 0% tax rate on qualifying income.
That's a whole lot of conditions to take at once. But I think if I heard you rightly, I heard a phrase called as economic substance. So I would really want to know what is this phrase economic substance mean, and how a free zone entity needs to comply with that particular condition.
Okay, this is very important thing that you have raised, economic substance. So many businesses assume that having an office in a free zone and having a license in a free zone, think they are satisfying the condition of economic substance. See, to meet the condition of economic substance, so you need to have your strategic decisions taken in the free zone. You have to maintain adequate physical assets in the free zone. You have to have operating expenditure within the free zone. All your employees should generate core income generating activities. I mean, your employees should carry out core income generating activities within the free zone, and management and control should be within the free zone. So only if you are meeting these conditions, you can say that you are complying with the condition of substance. And there is economic substance is a very subjective matter. It can be different for different entities.
I think that was my next question, to ask whether we can assess economic substance evenly for all the entities. But I think you highlighted that well before I could ask that economic substance is subjective and it is dependent on fact based and applicable entity to entity. Now that we have discussed both VAT as well as corporate tax, more predominantly from a corporate tax, since the time corporate tax has come into place, it's been like three and a half years. And I'm sure with the experience that you're having, you must have definitely handled a lot of the assignments in respect of corporate tax impact assessments and written filings. So what are the common mistakes that you see businesses making when it comes to corporate tax?
See, on day-to-day basis, we see many common mistakes that a business do. But if I want to highlight few, the first thing what I would highlight is that many businesses still assume that if they are located in a free zone entity, they automatically satisfies the conditions and they are eligible to get the tax benefits. Second condition is when the corporate tax was implemented, many business free zone entities might have done their free zone assessment and they have concluded that they are a qualifying free zone person, and thereafter they are not doing the assessment. It should be done on a year to year basis, and every year they have to satisfy these conditions, not at the year end but whole year these conditions are to be satisfied. Third point, as I mentioned, there are few entities still think that this assessment or complying this condition is an year end process and they will keep it postponed till the return filing, which is not correct, and they have to satisfy these conditions throughout the year in order to get this benefit of 0% corporate tax rate on qualifying income.
I think that's a lot of experience speaking when you're highlighting the mistakes that you have experienced in the past 3.5 years of journey with the corporate tax implementation. So now, before we can go to the rapid fire session, I would want to ask one specific question. Now that we are moving to the implementation of e-invoicing in the UAE, so do you think that e-invoicing has impact on free zones?
Yes, definitely e-invoicing has impact on free zones. So first thing I would like to clarify that e-invoicing is applicable to all the businesses, whether they are located in free zone or designated free zone or mainland. So there is this assumption for few business entities. They think that because from a VAT perspective they are out of scope, e-invoicing may not be applicable for them. For those businesses, I would like to clarify that e-invoicing is applicable to all the businesses irrespective of your VAT treatment. So please check your thresholds and implement the e-invoicing within the deadline. This is one thing which I want to highlight. The second thing is, once you have implemented the e-invoicing, you are reporting all the transactions on real-time basis, whether irrespective of your VAT treatment, to the FTA. Since you are reporting the VAT transactions to the FTA on real-time basis, you also need to see whether the transactions reported to the FTA are in consistency with other departments like corporate tax, customs, and transfer pricing. I mean, see, you might also be claiming the corporate tax advantage of 0% tax rate on qualifying income. So when you are reporting this transactions on real-time basis to the FTA, you also need to see from a corporate tax point of view whether you are complying the conditions of qualifying income or de minimis threshold, and you have to have the reconciliation between the books VAT returns that you have submitted and the corporate tax return that you are going to submit or you already submitted with the federal tax authority. So in a way, you have to see all your departments, whether it is VAT, corporate tax, customs, and your books are in align with each other, so that you are not inviting any FTA audits. Just to add one more last point, that going forward, once the invoicing is implemented, you have to issue the e-invoice through the e-invoicing platform, because I'm highlighting, you may think that you are from a VAT perspective you are having out of scope supplies. For even though you are having out of scope supply, it is mandatory for you to do the e-invoicing implementation, and you are mandatorily required to issue the e-invoices through the ASP.
Thank you, Mr. Pavan, for giving us a very good overview of taxation on free zones, not just from one of the taxation point of view, but from all the taxes point of view, may it be VAT, corporate tax, even the upcoming e-invoicing, as well as an overview of transfer pricing and customs requirements. So before we wrap up, if you could allow me some time to do a quick rapid fire session, I would be happy to take that rapid fire session.
Yeah, sure, we can do it. Yeah.
All right. So it's very simple. Short question, short answers. So I'll ask you a question and you can answer in a short manner. So the first question, free zone or mainland?
It depends on business model.
One word that businesses should associate with free zone today.
Compliance.
Which area do you think businesses are more confused with, VAT or corporate tax?
Both.
Designated zone or free zone, is it the same thing?
No, every free zone is not a designated zone, but every designated should be a free zone.
One CT free zone condition every businesses overlook.
Substance.
One tax habit every businesses should take.
Review the tax implications before you take the decision.
Thank you, Mr. Pavan Kumar. That was really an incredibly insightful session. I must say that you have given us an overview of VAT, corporate tax, free zones, transfer pricing, and given us a complete overview of how a business should see the taxation of free zones. I'm really sure that all the listeners, starting from CEO or CFO or entrepreneurs or any finance professionals, would have definitely enjoyed this session, considering that you have given us an overview not just at a basic execution level but at a business level.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure discussing this topic. If I could leave one final thought to our listeners,
Take it in.
don't build your tax strategy with assumptions, build it with facts.
That's really a fantastic message to end with. Thank you once again for joining us, and thanks to all the listeners for being engaged throughout the podcast. I'm pretty sure that you would have enjoyed the entire podcast, and if you really did enjoy, do subscribe the FintEdu channel as well as share this podcast with your colleagues and professionals. Thank you for listening and stay compliant. Comply with all your tax regulations.